From Anderson Silva landing a triangle choke in the last moments of UFC 117, to Travis Browne equalizing with one move, these are the best comebacks in MMA fights ever. Let's start the video with one of the greatest to ever do it. Anderson Silva coming back after all hope was lost against Chael Sonnen in UFC 117. Not only was this a main event, but the middleweight title was on the line too. Silva was the reigning champion, and he had to defend it against someone as lethal as Sonnen. Sonnen had a fantastic start to the match and landed the first successful strike seconds after the buzzer rang. In fact, he was dominating the first 4 rounds and made it look like he was simply training. It was wild to see that this was the middleweight champion he was facing, because everyone thought that a new champion was about to be crowned that night. The judges scored all 4 rounds in Sonnen's favor, and it looked like Silva was about to start packing his bags any time now. But lo and behold, the 5th round is when things took a wild turn. 2.5 minutes left on the clock, and both of these fighters looked like they'd been battered with hammers. Sonnen's punches didn't even look like punches, to be honest. Seconds before the match ended, Silva found himself on his back and still managed to secure a triangle choke submission. Clock it, 3 minutes and 10 seconds, and a replay finds Sonnen tapping out. Imagine losing the previous 4 rounds, making it to the last one with a lucky submission hold, and retaining your title. How lucky is that? But is it as lucky as what happened at UFC on Versus 4 between Cheick Kongo and Pat Barry? The fact that this happened a year after UFC 117 makes you realize how unpredictable this sport is, because this match was just all kinds of crazy. Unlike the match between Silva and Sonnen, this one started evenly, with both fighters sharing leg kicks and a few missed jabs. Kongo was getting back toward the cage when he started losing steady ground, and when Barry landed that massive punch out of nowhere, people thought the match was about to be over sooner than they thought. That punch made Kongo go all wobbly all around the cage, giving Barry even more opportunities to successfully land punches. Kongo was dropped again, but stayed resilient like the awesome heavyweight he is. The ref chose to let the fight continue, and the way this match ends, Kongo should be thanking him for the rest of his life. Kongo wasn't backing down just yet and showed incredible heart and determination. He returned to his feet and seized every opportunity he could, unleashing a series of vicious punches left and right. Now, Barry was obviously caught off guard. No blaming him there. The comeback was so intense that one of the punches knocked Barry out cold. See? This is what you get for having heart and determination. Let's talk about another heavyweight bout at UFC 116. Brock Lesnar versus Shane Carwin. Now, the heavyweight title was on the line, and people thought that Lesnar would find it challenging to face someone like Carwin, who has lunchboxes as fists. The first round proved just that because Carwin was attacking Lesnar relentlessly. And if you remember watching this match, you'd know just what I'm talking about. Lesnar couldn't even get up after that early onslaught because Carwin was having an unbelievable start to the match. But the Red Trunks eventually stood back up and faced more attacks in the second round, as if his opponent was punishing him for not ending the match in the first round. But just because Lesnar is as big and menacing as he is today, Carwin shouldn't be taken too lightly either. Believe it or not, Lesnar was one of the first people to see a second round when put in the octagon with Shane. Yeah, no one's ever managed a feat like that before. But the second round was in Brock's favor. He managed to secure an arm triangle and, yep, you guessed it, a win by submission. This was one of the greatest moments of his MMA career because, man, what a match. You can tell how much this victory meant for Brock because a comeback like that when you're bleeding all over your face is something that deserves a celebration. Now, don't think that there can't be some awesome comebacks in women's MMA fights, because UFC 196 holds a special place in every fan's heart after what happened between Miesha Tate and Holly Holm. Holly was on cloud 9 after defeating Ronda Rousey at UFC 193. But things were about to change when she entered the octagon for the first time in a title defense. Keep in mind, Tate is a bantamweight veteran, but the ego boost was in Holm's favor because she dominated the first 4 rounds of the match. She used her pro boxing skills to take control of Tate in the octagon because her opponent just couldn't find a single opening to strike. It's all about the footwork for Holmes. Fast forward to the 5th round, and everyone thought Holm was about to secure yet another victory. But guess what? Boom! Surprise! Rear naked choke. What happened next? Holm was put to sleep. This comeback is one for the books, no doubt. I just wonder if anyone told Holm that her bantamweight was snatched from her while she was asleep after submission. What a win for Tate. Now for some welterweight action between Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards at UFC 286. This title showdown makes it to every highlight reel there is on YouTube, so you know I had to include this. In the opening round, Edward was doing pretty well against the champion and even became the first fighter to successfully take Kamaru down inside the cage. The fans thought that this was it, the moment the Nigerian Nightmare met a worthy foe. But as the fight progressed, the champion asserted his dominance. The clock ticked down and Usman was moments away from yet another title defense. Did he manage to do so? Nope. An electrifying head kick sent him crashing to the canvas. And yes, he was knocked out cold. This happened in the last minute of the bout, and the audience was nothing but stunned. The dynamic was switched, tables turned, jaws dropped, and fate twisted. What a kick by Edwards. Do you see how unpredictable and relentless the cage and octagon can be? The clash between Yushin Okami and Tim Boetsch at UFC 144 is another classic example of unpredictability. These middleweights were at their prime back in 2012, and Okami's fighting was hailed as his career best performance. Each strike landed perfectly on Boetsch's chin. This was a little easier because Okami found himself in full mount positions over his opponent. If anything, this is almost impossible to get out of. Might as well call it quits and head home, right? But Boetsch did the one thing that everyone in this position wanted to do. He strategically lands a countercross. And this was when the trajectory of this match was about to change for good. The momentum shift allowed Boetsch to deliver a series of stinging uppercuts. And yes, these uppercuts dropped Okami like it was nothing. Now, this win was very important for Boetsch because it marked a 4-fight winning streak, the longest one in his UFC career. The timing and strategy to endure the pain like that were brilliant on his part. No doubt about that at all. Perhaps one of the best comebacks we've ever seen was at UFC Fight Night 26 in August 2013 between Travis Browne and Alistair Overeem. Heading into the bout, both of these fighters were pretty formidable contenders in the heavyweight division. The match started and Overeem was quick to take control, using his striking skills to full effect and landing every blow on Browne. He then left his opponent staggered with a brutal front kick, which was then followed by a ton of punches. Could this have been an early end to a much-anticipated match? Of course not. Do you think that Travis Browne was about to let Overeem off the hook that easily? Tables were turned in the second round with a perfectly timed front kick. This kick single-handedly, or should I say single-footedly, had the entire Boston audience gasping and cheering at the top of their lungs. The kick landed flawlessly on Overeem's jaw, and like any lethal hit, it left him groggy all over. Now, Browne saw the perfect opportunity and unleashed a series of ground strikes on his opponent. It had gotten so aggressive that the ref had to intervene and stop the fight. Now that's how you end a match in style, by leaving your opponent beaten to a pulp. Oh, that was definitely one of the matches that proved UFC is not predictable. This sport can switch at any point, and it only takes less than a mere second. It really takes a single move to change the expected winner of the match, since this is what happened with Browne against Overeem. So you've had submission holds, kicks to the chin, and a stampede of punches after getting back up from a beating. From Travis Browne equalizing with one move, to Anderson Silva landing a triangle choke in the last moments of UFC 117, these were the best comebacks in MMA fights ever.